Coming back to the idea that we're past the concentric circles and you've moved beyond Zucker land, and your current development is Motor Row Lofts down 2301, I think, South Michigan. Why the South Loop? Why,
Well, one of our companies, Motor Row Development, was formed to take advantage of what we saw as a significant growth of that market, and in particular the Motor Row district, which was a unique district within Chicago because of the incredible collection of historic buildings that are there. In the early 1900s, as you know, Joe, that was the area that the original car dealerships were created in the Midwest. Really the first ones outside of the Detroit area were built in that part of Chicago in, let's say, 1911 to 1915, in that range. And in order to attract people to this fledgling automobile industry, these car dealerships hired world-renowned architects to design the buildings down there. And you had this beautiful collection that remained relatively undisturbed because that area didn't have a lot of residential or even commercial viability for so many years. But now, as development in the South Loop has pushed aggressively southward, as development from Hyde Park and Bronzeville has pushed northward, it's really left just the Motor Row area in the middle, or at least a few years ago when we focused on that area, it left that area as one of the few untouched areas with this incredible collection of buildings. And the buildings were attractive enough and unique enough that the city decided they wanted to landmark that district in 2000. So that created the opportunity for us to do a development that would have significant economic advantages, primarily to our buyers. Because of the historic status of the buildings, anyone who buys in a residential development in that location benefits from virtually no property taxes over an 8-year period. And then those taxes after that step up gradually over another 4-year period till they reach the market rate. So you have 12 years of almost full or partial tax abatement, which is a truly appealing advantage on top of being able to live in these truly wonderful buildings.
I had expressed previously some skepticism about who gets the economic benefit of the tax credits, and I thought you had a very good answer for me, which was that you can pull out the spreadsheets and show me the price differential between your projects and other projects.
That's very true, Joe. I mean, we constantly, for no other reason, just to remain competitive in the marketplace, are surveying the availabilities in our competitors' projects and looking at their pricing, both on a price per unit basis and on a price per square foot basis. And I think under either measure, you'll find that when we're compared apples to apples with other projects, we are certainly less than most new construction, which when you consider the fact that renovations, the caliber of what we're doing now in Motor Row are actually as expensive or more expensive to do than new construction, because we have all of the same modern amenities of a new construction building, whether it's the mechanical systems or the elevators or the windows, etc. But we have all the expenses that they don't have of taking apart the old building, removing the vestiges of its previous uses, and then rebuilding it. For example, in our case, and this is not true for all developments, but in our case, we had an exhaustive study done of the facade and the structure of the building, and then spent over $2 million to rebuild the facade of that building.
$2 million for a facade?
$2 million, and that's meant taking...
I guess that would account for why other people aren't doing it.
Well,
why there have been so many facade complaints in the South.
Well, and that's exactly what happens when you don't do it. You see so many projects these days where the buyers are experiencing substantial special assessments because 3, 4, 5, 8 years after they've moved in, they're finding out that this work that should have been done wasn't done. And that's whether it's as simple as tuck pointing work or more extensive removal of masonry to get at the steel support beams that sit on top of the windows that are always rust over the years that these buildings have been in existence if they've not been properly cared for. And so in our case, as I said, we did all of that work up front. We removed all of the damaged and deteriorating masonry. We removed all of the damaged and deteriorating steel and replaced it all. And so, not only do we feel that that's the appropriate thing to do as a developer, but it saves lawsuits. And fortunately, we've never had a lawsuit in all the years that we've been doing business, and would like to keep it that way. So when you look at, like I say, the level, the extent of the renovation, the quality of the systems that have been put in the buildings, and we're using all of the highest quality equipment, whether it's Otis elevators. We installed 2 high-speed elevators for a building of just 52 units, so there'll be minimal waiting time. in the building. Again, not something that a typical project of this size might have. All high efficiency, energy efficient heating and air conditioning equipment, and then a very high level of finish, which is obvious to everyone who walks through the project, whether it's the cabinetry, the appliance package, or what other finishes you might have within the unit. So when you look at a comparable project that offers the same features that we do, you'll find that our pricing is at or below the market. So the tax benefit is truly the icing on the cake and truly a savings. Now, our units, as I said...
The icing on the cake, according to my daughter, is your courtyard.
The courtyard? Well,
she looks past everything else, and all she sees when she goes down there is the kitchens, of course, and the courtyard, which she thinks is a great feature.
well, the courtyard was sort of a fun undertaking. You know, every project, every loft project, I should say, struggles with the question of how you bring light to the interior spaces of these large industrial buildings. And so that's often handled in different ways. And in our building, we did it by carving out that courtyard that you referred to, by removing the middle portion of the second and third floor of a section of the building and creating this courtyard with units. There are, I think, roughly 10 units that wrap around this courtyard that either have direct access to or views of the courtyard, and it is a very wonderful amenity.